Welcome to the Holy Hour podcast, the All Cure podcast. It's a lovely ceremonial evening. Welcome, good listeners, and I'm happy to say that I'm joined by Donald and Chaz. How's it going, Chaz?
Going all right. How are you?
Oh, I'm going pretty good. Is your new year shaping up well?
Yeah, it's, I guess as well as it could right now.
Yeah, it's hard to totally fuck it up by this point, I guess. Right on. Well, I guess we have to ask Donald. How are you doing over there, man? You easing into this new year, Donald?
Yeah, dude.
Fix it all in the mix. Turning over some new leaves in 2019.
Turning over some new leaves.
Really taking
I got
the
my
health
bong
approach
fixed,
to
man.
New Year's resolutions, or he's
I got my bong fixed, man. Oh, that felt good.
well, welcome. So yeah, your new and improved weaponry over there, huh?
The podcast's been missing it, man.
Yeah.
I gotta.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It
man.
seemed like you were kind of high in the other episodes.
Yeah, I was just using other methods.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I
the bong is
misinterpreted
the
what you were
funniest.
saying. Okay.
The bong is the funniest one for this medium.
Okay.
The other ones are all quiet and
Yeah.
stealthy. This is loud and silly. So
Well,
feels good to be back, guys. Bad Boy's back.
Yeah, we
2019.
although second episode of the new year, this is the first one actually recorded in the new year. So yeah, this will be what better way to kick it off than with this historic moment of talking about the Cure's official induction into the Hall of Fame. I know I got my tuxedo on. You guys are all dressed up. You got your
Got my
yourselves
Nike lounge pants on and a Nirvana shirt. So good to go.
gussied up. Yeah. Awesome.
Nothing but a cummerbund over here.
Nice.
Ooh, all right. I feel a little
Keeps riding
overdressed.
up too. It's weird.
I'm a little bit embarrassed. I should have overdressed for a podcast. But yeah, it's quite a big moment. Maybe
Is it?
I don't know. That's what we.
Does it matter?
We addressed it at the end of our year in review a bit, but even at that one, it was kind of funny because we recorded us like. Not sure if we gave a shit, but then like as soon as we recorded it, they officially announced that they made the cut and they were inducted. It was all official. And so I figured, well, we better address this, but we're still kind of torn. How official is this? I don't know. But it's hard to say. But it's the Hall of Fame and they're in. It's kind of made it. I realized how like kind of dubious that whole voting process was that went on for like 6 months. Where
It
was
didn't
like,
matter.
No, it was like
Yeah.
you get 1 point towards the whatever committee used that one voter point or something. But at least, you
Is it
know.
like some 12 Angry Men-esque like
Yeah.
committee, like
all these fat guys with like cigars standing around like going,
they're like the Cure, yes, but what about Lowell?
The fan
Everyone's like,
vote.
those,
What
like,
about the
everyone's
fan
like, oh, Lowell again.
and luckily, pretty much everybody that won on the fan votes were still the top ones that got in, except our boy Todd Rundgren. Boy, there's some mad Todd Rundgren fans out there, and we'll
Yeah.
get to him later. But man, he kind of got a bum deal. Came out of nowhere and blazed past the Cure, but in the end, it didn't really matter. So maybe next year, Todd.
In the long run, Grin, it didn't matter.
In the long run. Better luck next time, TR. But,
Good luck, TR.
What place did the zombies finish?
in the voting, they were right behind the Cure, I think. Yeah.
Zombie
Or
fans.
I guess, no, yeah, because they were like 6th, I think, on the fan voting, but since Rundgren didn't get it. Oh, no, and then Janet Jackson wasn't anywhere in the fan voting. She got,
Really?
because she was behind the Cure. Yeah, she
Wow.
was, and then she's in. So,
Let's say
yeah, she's.
zombie fans don't know how to use a computer. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, they did.
Right.
They did get ahead of the Cure in the fan voting. Yeah, because remember they were ahead of them for a long time, and then they pulled ahead of the Cure. So yeah. I was surprised. They must have like recruited somebody. But yeah, zombies are up there. I was doing a little looking up their stats. It was like, man, and I think they're still going, right? So they're gonna be rocking this thing out. But we'll get into all the other acts. But of course, our band, the reason why we have this podcast, The Cure, is in there. So I don't know. Like, I guess the announcement came. It was a pretty big day, and just all around Cure news. And then that was kind of the first thing that tipped it off. And yeah, so a big day for Cure news, and they'll officially be inducted in on March 29th. And yeah, have you guys ever been to the Hall of Fame by any chance out there?
Nope.
The Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they're all in Ohio, right? Isn't that where they put it all?
Baseball's in New York. The football's one is in Ohio. I've been to that one too.
Okay.
So, and the hockey one is in Toronto.
Okay, that makes more sense. Is the music one in Ohio?
Yeah, it's in Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the heart of rock and roll is in Cleveland, right? Isn't that the Huey Lewis song?
Yeah. He's the only reason why it's there.
Yeah. Like, well, Huey Lewis is talking about it.
He is rock and roll.
Yeah. Which
he's in, right?
I don't know. We'll have to look that up when we get to that stage. But but yeah, something I kind of like got into was the idea of like, first, what is the eligibility of like, what the fuck guidelines do you have to, meet for any band to get in? And they do have like kind of the textbook definitions on their main webpage if you look it up. And it was for performers. This category honors bands or solo artists which demonstrate musical excellence. Such a descriptor includes, but isn't limited to, influence on other performers or genres. That's fair enough. Length and depth of career and catalog. So you have to stick around for a while. No dishwalla. And stylistic innovations or superior technique and skills. So you have to be pretty good at your weaponry.
But all of this is subjective, so
yeah,
it's terribly subjective.
So maybe the length of a career is the only way you can, say if they.
Because there's artists that can be an influence just like with their fashion or whatever, or just like their look or their style,
And you could influence shitty bands.
Yeah. Right. Which probably explains half the people that are in the Hall of Fame. And then this one was a little more official, just the eligibility of artists as opposed to like producers and shit, I guess, maybe, or I don't know if they lump them in, but it says a group encompassing performers, composers, and or musicians become eligible for induction 25 years after the release of their first commercial recording. Besides demonstrating unquestionable musical excellence and talent, which is like unquestionable.
Excellence in the field of shredding.
This all sounds like some bullshit job interview question or something.
What's your biggest weakness?
Yeah.
I shred too much?
A band that sees themselves in the Hall of Fame 5 years from now.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah, my only real fault is that we're too awesome. Inductees will have had a significant impact on the development, evolution, and preservation of rock and roll, which I was a little surprised by that wording. I was like, what the fuck? They just threw the whole like rock and roll thing right in there too?
Because you could just argue half the people they inducted out on that alone. It's like, you're not...
Yeah, not even rock and roll.
Yeah,
that was kind of my first main question to address. Is
great
like,
artist, but
even as much as I love The Cure and think they rock in every sense possible, I'm like, I don't know if I'd like call them a straight up rock and roll band, but I mean,
I've seen them rock.
Yeah, they rock in my mind and way more than most of the people in the Hall of Fame, but it's like, at the same time, it is hard because you don't really know if that is taken like literally, like, are they supposed to be, because in that case, like Janet Jackson, what the fuck, and there's like countless like soul artists and shit that are amazing that are in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, they're not like rock, and the fact they had like LL Cool J and shit, like on there is like, well, he's awesome or whatever, but he's not like rock. So I guess that just totally goes out the window. So already the whole thing doesn't really make much sense.
It should definitely be the subjective Hall of Fame, or they should just call it the Music Hall of Fame instead of, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not the term. The term really doesn't even
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. It's kind of nitpicky to kind of dwell on that even, but at the same time, it's weird that they threw it into the actual definition. Yeah. That's what I was all like, what? The preservation of rock and roll.
It's like calling it the Baseball Hall of Fame and having a cricket player inducted.
Yeah.
And it's similar,
Shouldn't
but
it just
it's
be
not
like
the
the
same
music?
thing.
Like the Music Hall of Fame?
Yeah, music.
I mean, if you get called the Music Hall of Fame, you'd have to include like classical music artists and
fucking jazz.
God, and then we gotta sit here and listen to Donald for 2 hours.
Yeah, he's
about
like,
jazz.
a true jazz artist has a significant impact on the development and evolution of jazz.
If Kenny G isn't in this fucking Jazz Hall of Fame, I'm out.
But you wonder too, like, where they use that in their favor though, because like of those artists that didn't make it even in this batch, like John Prine and Devo and Kraftwerk and MC5. I mean, they're all full on rock, but like, I mean, I guess you could argue, because I was like shocked. I was like, how the fuck is Devo not in there already? Like, I'm sure there's a billion artists that are like that. Where you're just like, what? They're not in there already?
If you don't talk about like the badassness of rock music, fucking Devo.
Yeah. And I mean, and John Prine I love, but I mean, it's totally a whole different thing. It's like country and songwriter, like anything.
Has he been doing it for 25 years?
Yeah, dude's been around forever. Yeah. It's just kind of like, what? I don't know. It seems like they just use it when they need to, use the rock and roll crutch probably. But I don't know. Nobody really said they didn't get in because of that, so maybe it doesn't matter at all.
They're like, hey, we tried. Look, we tried to get this obscure guy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like John Prine,
I think they have the rock label, but I mean, I don't think they want to stray too far from the mainstream off of what you consider rock. Like they don't want to go down the whole, they don't want to go down the punk rock, road or the metal road. I mean, I think the furthest they went is Metallica, but I don't think you're going to see Slayer inducted anytime soon.
Like Sex Pistols are in, but Black Flag isn't in it.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, or the Misfits or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to see the MC5s or Rage in there anytime soon, just because of the political issues that both bands would probably bring up.
Right.
I mean, rock at the outset is, to go against the norm and the status quo. And if any two bands did that at the time, it would probably be those two for the mainstream anyway.
Totally.
So, but I mean, if it was actually the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they would probably be in their like first ballot just because of their influence on social and political issues.
Yeah.
But I think it's a tragedy that either of them are not in there just for that. Just bringing awareness to people.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't like their music, but I mean, I don't think they're gonna go. You're opening a huge bag of worms, or a whole, whatever the expression is, can of worms or whatever, by putting Rage Against the Machine or the MC5s in there.
Yeah.
And Devo.
Oh yeah, even
message.
Devo.
Same fucking message.
Absolutely. I think you open up people that are more conservative that would flip their shit. If those bands were part, and it's all corporate too. So you gotta.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
You gotta take. You got to take that into account too. Like you could possibly lose sponsorships, especially if they get on stage and have a message during the induction ceremony. So, but I would love to see those bands get in, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Like I imagine there's like whole suburban dad biker gangs that like we're going up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because we're fucking rock and roller bikers, and there's just like riding like $20,000 Harleys and shit, like you said, it's all super corporate and all.
I would still like to go there. I mean, just to see, just for like historical value, to see some of the stuff. Like I'd like to show my kids, Michael Jackson's glove, or or I don't know who else, like Elvis's guitar,
Billy Ray Cyrus's jeans,
or his mullet.
Yeah.
we scalped him and preserved it.
Possibilities.
Buddy Holly's glasses or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
cool.
there's stuff like that that I go to, like, museums in DC now just for that purpose. You know.
Yeah, I mean the country one's awesome in Nashville. That one's like
Oh, I'm
really
sure.
well done. And, you know, where it's just like you see all their like awesome suits and the guitars and shit. You know, where it's just like, oh man, wow, yeah. So I mean, if I'm assuming they do it right, it's got to be a really nice museum and stuff. But
and I think the pop culture stuff they would have in there would also be pretty rad to see. As it goes with music, you know, I don't know, like I don't know if they have any Pepsi stuff set it aside for Michael Jackson, like when he lit his hair on fire or whatever. But
well, when the Cure play Ohio, Cleveland for the summer or fall tour there, maybe we should swing on by the Hall of Fame. We could check it out.
Oh yeah,
do a field trip. But yeah, get back to the Cure. They have been eligible then, going by the 25-year thing since 2004, and then they got nominated in 2012 for the first time. The big snubbery there of 2012.
What record were they? Was around 2004 for the Cure.
Yeah, that was the when the self-titled one came out that we're going to talk about next. So, what a coincidence! But
so you're eligible, but you have to be. Who nominates you?
Then I guess all the guys get together with their suits and the big cigars, and then they figure it out. So yeah, I mean, even though they were eligible,
the nominating committee is Guy Fieri.
Yeah, exactly.
The greatest man alive.
Chubby Checkers, grandson.
He pulls a mozzarella popper out of a bucket with a name in it.
I don't know. Fucking American Pie, dude. Don McLean. I wrote American Pie. Oh, yeah. Let's get him a. And John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yeah.
But,
hell yeah.
So yeah, but I mean that just kind of shows you too. Since 2004, I mean every year I guess they have a whole new batch, and you know it still took that many years to even just get nominated. And a lot of bands like have been snubbed way worse because I was just kind of like, what blasphemy? They got turned down the first time, but I mean they only really got snubbed the one time, and then the second time they've been officially nominated, they make it in. That's pretty good. Like the little researching I look at it, there was some bands that have been like turned down like 10 times and over 10 times, and like just some of them are ridiculously long, and for whatever the hell. I mean, just the fact that the Zombies are just getting in now, it's kind of like, I'm not like a huge fan by any means, but at the same time I'm like, Jesus Christ, really? It's like those dudes are like
Alan
90
Parsons
years
Project had to wait like five
times
to get
I
in.
mean, I guess you can't just put everybody in, but at the same time it's a little weird. And so yeah, I guess it's pretty nice that they made it in on the second official try even. So
I guess once you're nominated, you're not automatically nominated again the next year.
No, then I think it's a whole nother batch. So then it's kind of a big deal.
That's some weird political shit there.
Yeah, it is weird. And I have some theories we'll get into maybe later, but I don't know how valid any of them are. How's like the sports ones? Do you know how that works? Like I know like football, it's kind of the same where you get like a batch and then they pick them, but then like the next year they just like
I mean
have to do a whole new batch.
You have to be 5 years out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you're put on the initial list.
Aquaman? Sorry.
Go on.
There's a couple rounds of voting, I guess, and like the people that have the votes are like the owners, and then the sports writers have different votes, and the players have votes too that are already in the Hall of Fame. So
yeah,
it seems like it's a more transparent operation than what's going on here, other than the fan voting.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't.
Yeah, they seem pretty tight-lipped on who's on this committee. Is it like just producers? Is it just the
no
guys,
idea.
or is there? Yeah, it could be like just old rockers too, or people that already are in it get the vote too. So who knows? But
Joe Walsh.
Yeah. Wow, he
Guy Fieri
gets
Joe
a lot
Walsh.
of electoral votes or something. Depending on how big your band is, like Menudo gets like 500 votes.
Gerrymandering.
The Sound Machine gets like 20 votes.
They fucking rocked.
Yeah, they should be in it. I wonder if they
Yeah.
We should just start a whole list of. But yeah, so gauging the importance level of the actual cure based on that one fateful day where they found out, that's a kind of a weird one, because we debated that going back and forth in the last episode. We're kind of like, well, who cares? You know, obviously it's kind of silly and doesn't really matter. But then we kind of all came to the agreement, from what I interpreted of you guys, so tell me if I'm wrong, was more that it was kind of a nice thing probably in the end if like Robert Smith felt good about it to be like in the same category as like people he looked up to, you know, like Bowie and stuff, and it would be an honor to him in the sense that like it was something that he would want because he would like to be in the company of people that made a difference to him and stuff, and you know, and that does seem kind of nice. But it was hard to tell from their reactions, because when they officially got in that day, 2 quick radio interviews came out. First one was Roger on like I didn't jot down where they're from at this point, but it was some kind of, Sirius, and then like XFM kind of things, you know, and like so yeah, he was pretty much in the same boat as Robert, and Lowell put a statement out on his Facebook, I think it was, or a little video on Instagram, and basically I got the impression that all of them were like super appreciative and really cool about it, but it was like kind of funny in hindsight looking at the interviews again. They were like, yeah, this is such a wow, surprising, great honor. And then they're like, they really spun it fast. We're like, and we're recording and we're going on tour. And they just like quickly turned about other shit, you know? They were like way more excited to be talking about like recording the Hyde Park show and putting that out and going on tour and the festivals and then this new album. And
like
then they kind of
just that actually matter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So it was kind of funny because they were like really sweet. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it does mean a lot to them. But then like listening to it like third time through or something, I'm like, I don't know. He kind of just brushed by it and started talking about other shit. And then they kind of all threw it back to the fans, or it was more like, oh, we're just happy for the fans to have this and to be, you know, something that represents that the fans care and something for them to, you know, like, I was like, and we were kind of all like, well, we don't really give a shit, but as long as it means something to you, then so maybe we're all kind of like, well, if we don't care and you don't care, maybe we shouldn't care. But
I think there's a group of fans that feel validated, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
For them being inducted. I know when I got to work, then one of the next days I had like 2 or 3 people talk to me about it, and you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me it doesn't really matter that much. You know, I think the announcement and them combining all that stuff together was just a way for them to try to, you know, kill 2 birds with one stone, rather than have to come out with 2 different announcements or 3 about like a new album and a tour and everything. That they were just like, well, we'll just put it all together and just announce it now and then be done with it and just go on and do our stuff. So
and that's how you get into the Hall of Fame.
What's that?
And that's how you get into the Hall of Fame.
Be smart.
That kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Just like
work smarter, not harder.
He's like,
exactly.
It's always been my dream ever since I got a guitar. It wasn't about the art or the drugs or the sex. It was always about getting into the Hall of Fame.
Said
like,
no musician ever.
Yeah, they were just like, ugh, really? Did he just say that?
Like, what artist was like, they find out they're like out in the press going, fuck yes,
finally,
yeah, I deserve this. Like,
I've been snubbed once,
God
never
damn
again.
it. It's about time you fucking pricks recognize me, like, for my rock and rollness. Like no one's, you can't do that. You just have to go like, thank you, it's very humbling, and you know, if it weren't for my fans, like, I wouldn't be here today. Like, that's all you can do.
My dad's not going to think I'm a waste anymore. I amounted to something in my life.
Yeah. You, Dad. Fuck you, Dad. Yeah, it's like, whoa. It's just like, clearly got some issues he's working.
I told you should have divorced me.
You fucking bitch. Who's in the Hall of Fame now?
You got the kids, I got the Hall of Fame.
I got the Hall of Fame.
You get half of this.
Can't have half of this, man. Never take this. Like, all right, well, it was good talking with you, Todd Rogren, dude.
Oh, shit.
Poor Todd Rundgren. And
So
his
the
son-
big
and
hot
his son.
debate then, and I guess I never really saw this listed anywhere, but it seems like kind of common knowledge of the Hall of Fame is that at some point they just pick one lineup of whatever version of the band. Like it's not even for a specific album, maybe, but just like it has to be one specific lineup. And it just normally isn't that big of a deal, but given the Cure's history of how many people, but I mean, so many bands that last that long are going to have tons of members. So I mean, you can't even really say that.
Sweating it.
I mean, it's,
I mean, I guess first off, it's fun to dive into this debate right off the bat. It's like, well, which lineup do you choose? But then it's kind of like, well, wait, what's the big fucking deal? Like with the Hall of Fame, like why don't you just pick all of them? Like, what's the big like privilege that's so awesome that we don't want to just give to Andy Anderson? You know, like what he gets like a discount on going to the fucking Hall of Fame. I mean, what's the big does he get?
It'd be dope to see him come out and shred on some shit. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not all gonna perform,
Yeah,
obviously, because they're not in the band. But like at the same time, it's just like just put them all in there. What the fuck is the holdup?
I think
am I missing something?
I think some of the issues is that some of these bands that are in there have so many people that have played with the band over the years that you'd have a line out the door.
25, 30 years.
Yeah, they've
I
like,
mean, you can just.
they've gone through 15 drummers and.
But I mean, it's like an
10
Oscar
keyboardists.
speech. You put 20 people on the stage, big fucking deal. You know, you put their name on a plaque. It's not like you gotta like give them all like fucking life. You know what I mean? Life supply tickets all over, free flying miles everywhere in the country. I mean, it's just like, wow, all right, put them all on the fucking plaque.
Yeah,
Put them on the stage. They don't have to all speak at the ceremony or anything. Just put them all up there.
What?
Is there like sub requirements for like?
I do wonder if once the the band gets inducted, do they acknowledge like the other past members like with something like even a letter, you know?
Yeah.
Like a letter to Andy Anderson, like congratulations, you were part of the Cure, and they got into the Hall of Fame. So
I think they probably just leave it up to
Here's
the
a
artist.
fruit basket.
Huh? Yeah, fruit basket or something. Yeah, I mean, how hard is it?
An edible arrangement.
Yeah. You don't have to, I'm sure like the perks aren't that amazing
Lol,
for
get
whatever
it
the fuck it
inedible
is.
arrangement.
It's not like
Here's
like
a-
free.
Here's a buy one get one free soda in the food court at the Rock and Roll.
I
Hall of
mean,
Fame
even if
sessions.
he just is able to put it on his resume, that's nice. Whatever, you know. It's like, but Michael Dempsey can say he's a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Great, you know. But it doesn't.
It's pretty
really,
dope.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
I mean, that's something though. And like, I joke, but that is
yeah.
a lot,
But, I mean,
you
he
know?
should be able to put it on there. You know, why not? I don't know. I just think. Include everybody, man. But I guess the funner debate is trying to pick who the fuck should be in there because they got to pick them. And
It's fun for us.
yeah, it makes it funner for us and everybody out there who gets the cut and who doesn't. I feel
So,
like,
is it like the band? There's like the band and like the rock and roll higher up committee like get together and like
I don't
figure
know.
out like how are we gonna do this? Like what members are we talking about here? And the band's like, so and so's out, and they're like, no, they gotta be in, and like
Yeah, I don't know.
they're passing like writing notes and folding them and sliding them across the table
Well,
I would
didn't
assume
at each
the-
other, you know.
I would assume the band would get the pick. Because then they'd be like, no, you're out. Like,
Well-
they're not going to like then uninduct them because they picked the wrong people. So, I mean, it's got to
That'd be dope. I got uninducted from them.
wasn't that a
Like,
thing with?
I want that on my tombstone. That's
like
dope.
if Robert picked the top lineup, like they're not gonna,
Yeah.
they're gonna like, ooh, well, actually we changed our mind. You're not in anymore. But,
yeah, like
Wasn't that a thing with Guns N' Roses that like? I have a feeling that they were were supposed to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but something with Axl Rose.
I
Yeah,
read.
What the
like,
fuck was that?
I just read real quickly that he didn't show up because like Guns N' Roses got inducted, and then I don't know what lineup they choose, probably just for Appetite of Destruction or whatever the hell, and like, but then he just didn't show up because he didn't want to talk to Slash and somebody named Rosie. Some shit.
Oh, I'm
I
looking at
don't
it
know
right
like
now.
Guns N' Roses too much, but yeah. So I don't know how like he did. It seems like that would be like a really sensitive and bad way to do it, because all these bands hate at least somebody that's been, if you've been around for 25 years as a band that's good enough to make it into the Hall of Fame, some dark shit has happened in your past, I'm sure, where there's like so many, like all those bands have like some dude that they're like, fuck, we gotta bury this body or something, you know what I mean? It's like there's gotta be one in every band where they're just like, does he really have to be part of this, you know? So, I don't know.
Sometimes, yeah, it's like that's what makes like great bands. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Just include them. Yeah. So I guess with the idea of the lineup, do you guys, I mean, have the obvious choice? I mean, I would think that the obvious one, it wouldn't be much of a hard discussion, because just take Disintegration lineup, because that kind of covers everybody. It was their biggest album. And you can include Lowell that way, even though we all know he didn't really do much on it, but at least it would be a nod to all the early shit if he was still included. You'd have Roger, and he's with them, you know, so you want to get the stuff that's covered in the later stuff, and then
but then
I think that would be there.
Wouldn't you be missing out on
Perry would probably be the only tough one, because he was on like Wish and stuff, but like, you know, really that's not that. I mean, if you're gonna have to cut people, if you really do only have to choose one, so I mean, it wouldn't be the most diplomatic and makes sense. I think, you know.
Yeah, I think Lowell would definitely have to be in there. Yeah.
So I mean, actually, that other instrument's technicality of Disintegration would actually come in favor, so it would make sense. You know, it's like one of those things where you're just like, oh yeah.
So
still got it.
So it'd be Robert, Simon,
Theodore,
Boris.
Boris, Pearl, and
everyone take a drink.
and
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
And Roger, so it'd be a big bet. What is that, like 6?
Yeah, it'd be 6 people.
So, yeah,
I kind of
covers
agree with
the
that.
most,
Yeah.
I think.
Because that was a hard one for me to try to figure out, like, what would be my... Because, like I said, it's like, if you're in the band, man, like...
You're in the band, yeah.
I
I don't think anyone's totally getting snubbed. I guess, the biggest snub would be Perry, but I mean, he was kind of the extra dude on Wish, and then anything from about Wild Mood Swings up, everybody, I think, is as much as they love anything up from there, they kind of agree that wasn't exactly the Cure's peak years.
How do you think Michael Dempsey would take it as being like a founding?
He's probably used to it at this point. I would think.
I know, but the same thing is like, you think he would be like, well, without me, there would be.
Yeah, exactly.
This wouldn't have been as big of a thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I ideally think everybody should be on the form. They don't have to show up. You can even not invite them, but just put them on the plaque.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's like,
I mean,
give them a fruit basket and put them on the plaque.
Nobody's breaking down the doors to see Michael Dempsey's bass or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. He's used to it at this point. I think when they started selling out Dodger Stadium, he was probably like, "Yeah, fuck, I probably should have hung in there."
It's just like everyone had a part, man. Like,
and I don't think it diminishes anyone. I mean,
like legit, the band wouldn't be where they are today without like all these past people,
Yeah.
I mean, considering the longevity of the band, they really haven't had that many members compared to other bands.
I mean, you look at it, it's and they've had people like Roger coming back and leaving so many times and stuff like that. Where it really hasn't been that many. I mean, you look at the Zombies like thing on there, and they're like, probably just because they are so old, and it's just like,
there's like one zombie.
Yeah, I think it is like just the one dude,
like one
and
dude.
he's got like actual decades where people just die off or whatever.
If you take out that 83-84 lineup of Andy Anderson and Phil Thornley, like you really don't have a lot of turnover in that band.
Yeah, for sure.
Truth,
it's kind of one of those Cure myths where it's like a definitely overly hyped thing that they've had that many people in the band. But. So perhaps the bigger question is that everyone's gearing up to buy tickets for the ceremony, which happened in March 29th, and we're even debating it. But I mean, really, in all actuality, there's no real proof that they would even show up for this performance. Do you think there's a slight chance that they would not even play at this thing? It seems like...
I'm not showing up. I doubt they will.
That's all that matters. Is Donald going?
You going, Donald?
No, we'll skip.
Yeah. I kind of like got all excited for it. Like when we started talking about it, I was all like, that would be kind of funny because I mean, it'd be so weird. At least it'd be fucking memorable
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
would
You're
be.
going to like some weird ass, like I'm assuming like a big
bizarre.
ass stadium,
Yeah,
right?
it's the-
Is that
it's
what
the
it
Barclays
is? The
Center.
Barclays.
I thought it was
Yeah.
MSG, but they changed. I guess they changed it when they built the Barclays Center
Cool.
to there, which is kind of cool.
I'm sure it's smaller, more intimate. Like a-
No, it's probably
like a small club.
no. It's I wish no. It's where I think the Nets play, the
Okay.
Brooklyn Nets. So it's still the same. It's still like a 19,000,
Big ol'-
15,000 whatever seat arena. So
yeah.
They should be forced to play in
they
Ohio.
should. Right on
Yeah, true.
right
Yeah,
on the
they're like,
banks of
we're
the river.
definitely not doing it in Ohio.
the
but-
lake or whatever's there.
You know,
But I mean, that's quite a lineup. The Cure, Def Leppard, Stevie Nicks, Roxy Music, Janet Jackson, Radiohead, whoever's left of the Zombies is gonna be there. So
And
yeah, I mean, how many times you get to see Janet Jackson? Like, and coming up next, the
you
Cure.
know, floppy boobies. This was flying all over the place.
Just slopping all over the place. Stevie Nicks is all fucking high as shit, staggering around.
no.
Guy with Def Leppard in one arm, just flailing his one arm.
Yeah,
around.
he's just like, ah, a madhouse.
He's really good with his feet.
But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, I guess there's no real proof. And I wonder, like, are they gonna confirm that before they put the tickets on sale?
I would hope so.
Yeah,
The only
I bet they will just say like ceremonial ticket, $5,000, and then like whoever the fuck's gonna show up's gonna show up. You know?
But they play like 5 songs.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be short set.
yeah.
They're like, that's whack. I'm not gonna go see this
No.
shit for like 5 songs. I mean, maybe for Janet.
Yeah, you can see the whole crew though, man.
I mean, the thing that leads me to believe that they are going to show up is that they have the one date in South Africa the weekend before,
Mhm.
and then they're off that weekend for that would be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then the next weekend they play in Dublin. So
Yeah. So it is.
they do have a date open for that. I don't know if they did that on purpose or
Yeah.
not, but you know,
True.
Who
It
pays
does-
for that? It has to be so
I'm sure the
expensive,
Rock and
just
Roll Hall
like-
of Fame pays for their airfare and everything in their hotel.
But like getting all the gear and stuff, like that's crazy.
But they're not gonna have their normal huge
Yeah.
stage setup either. So
No,
then
I
it's
know
just-
that,
It'd
but
probably
just
have the
like
normal, just bring your guitar kind of thing,
Yeah.
But I mean, still,
they're gonna be using Janet Jackson's backline.
Yeah, probably. Def Leppard's drummer, everything's like hooked up
and
to
it's
like,
all confused. He's like,
fucking-
"What the?"
It's like 6 foot pedals, man.
That'd be
But,
dope.
so yeah, I mean, it really does point. It doesn't make sense that they wouldn't play it, I guess. But I mean, it just like, and then I went down like the rabbit hole of like seeing who the fuck hasn't, or like just like whatever, because it does seem kind of rock and roll, and the whole thing is so kind of weird that like it would make sense that a band would be like, fuck that, I'm not showing up for that thing, or and just because you don't
Yeah.
show up doesn't mean you're not in and you're not accepting it. It's just like,
Makes you more rock and roll.
yeah, it's like they just have like somebody there accepting it on your behalf, and then you don't have to do it, but you're still
Yeah.
in. So, but there was a lot of big ones like the Beatles. Like the remaining members didn't show. Like Paul McCartney didn't show up because there's some legal shit going on in the '80s when they officially got inducted. I think the Stones weren't half of them weren't there when they got accepted. Most of them were like the soul people that didn't show up, like James Brown and Aretha didn't show up, which makes sense. They're like, why
Like all the people that they like were like, we're making this
this thing
about
for you.
beautiful
yeah.
thing for you.
Yeah,
and they're
pretty
like,
much.
"Psh, fuck you.
But I was kind of
That's
surprised.
dope.
Ike Turner didn't show up because he was in jail, but then Tina
Yeah.
didn't show up because it was
'Cause Ike
awkward.
was there
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
Rod Stewart was pretty badass that he turned it down twice for Small Faces and solo, but then he gave like a lame excuse. Apparently, he said he had the flu both times or something. But it's like, come on. But then more appropriately for the Cure, like
well,
Bo.
he's like 82.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah, I don't want to see him up there
appar-
singing, if you want my body and you think I'm sexy.
yeah.
Ugh.
Maybe he was just doing everybody a favor. But Bowie turned it down too. He didn't He didn't turn it down, but he just didn't show up for the acceptance of it and didn't perform.
Well, what?
Roger Waters didn't show up for Pink Floyd because he hates everybody in Pink Floyd.
Oh,
that
yeah.
continued
Fuck
on,
yeah.
so he didn't have anything to do. Neil Young, and Axl Rose.
But what
Oh.
years? What years were all these? These were all like a long time ago, right? Like I can.
Yeah, like 80s and
Yeah.
stuff. So I mean,
it's a little bit.
it kind of.
it's definitely different now than it was back then. It's like this is actually like a bigger deal, bigger setup, more money, more
Or they're just scraping the
More
barrel.
money.
more money's going into it. It's shown on HBO now. I mean, back then I don't even know if it was on TV at all. You know.
I don't know.
So I
My parents didn't know about
ABC.
it back then, but they know
Yeah.
about it now.
Yeah.
That's a.
And
where
one
it's
of the
headed.
other ones that
That's
I
where
had
it's
that
where it
turned it
is.
down, it was a funny, interesting wrinkle going back to what you talked about with so like Peter Gabriel apparently didn't want to show up with Genesis because he didn't want to perform with them, so he didn't show up and they didn't perform or something. But then Fish played Genesis songs, so like that's a funny
Okay.
angle of like if the Cure didn't show up, maybe somebody would just play Cure
the Zombies
songs.
just
Like,
playing
who-
Cure songs.
Who the? I don't know if it's another band. I'm assuming Fish wasn't getting inducted into the Hall of Fame that year that Genesis got in, so maybe they would just pick some young
Is
band.
Fish
like-
in this? Is everyone? Is it,
yeah, maybe just because
Is
nobody
this like a
knows.
free-for-all?
They were like, "What band's in the city right now that could play this?"
It's like, and now the Killers will be playing the Cure.
I'd watch that.
Like what?
I mean, I would watch that.
yeah, it just be weird enough and almost work. Where I was like, oh, all right, I guess.
Def Leppard covering the Cure, and then the Cure covering Def
Yeah,
Leppard.
yeah, definitely.
it would be funnier if they made another band from it. Yeah, like have to play play each other's
I'd be
songs.
way more into that.
Like if everybody played their own songs, that would be great. So,
I bet the bands would be into that too. That'd be fun.
yeah, because there usually is some
Something-
kind of all-star
Yeah.
jam at the end or something. They all play Dead Flowers together or something.
So going back to the original question, would you go? Are you gonna go?
I'm gonna check it out. Yeah, I think just out of weirdness and having my brother-in-law live in
Okay.
Brooklyn, and it would be fun to try to meet up with
Yeah.
you there if you're game. But
I think that's
so
the real
yeah,
question. Like if they actually confirm, and but then
Yeah,
what if they do this? What if they confirm that they're doing that and they're playing a concert on this next Saturday or the Friday before or whatever? Would you?
Of course, they would never be cool enough to announce them both at the same time. It would be after you bought
Yeah,
the ticket
seriously.
to the Hall of Fame that
Yeah.
you'd be like, "Oh shit, man!" And, but yeah, then I would probably just
Skip.
if it was close enough, skip the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame and just see a real Cure show. But I don't know.
I'd rather see
yeah.
a show than like a.
Yeah, but it
the
would
Hall
be
of Fame
so
show,
weird.
that's right.
I don't know. I just I've been debating this for weeks now. Like anytime it pops in my mind, I'm debating with myself of like if they actually say they're going to show up and and the tickets go on sale, am I buying one or two? And am I going? Like I mean, it's
Well, I think you'd be able to resell it for face
Oh,
value
yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
easily too. So I mean, but it's
I
like
doubt it. No one's going
there's
to
tons.
that shit.
Oh, their tickets are apparently really hard to get.
Yeah, they said they're ranging from like what $90 to 5,000 or 2,000 or something. Or I'm sure that
I'm so not going
I'm
to
sure
that.
that
That's
includes
ridiculous.
like catering and whatever and hanging out with something. But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the more realistic. It's going to be impossible to get a ticket, and it's going to be some ridiculous. Even if it's like a $500 ticket or something, you know.
Well,
it's
yeah.
like,
I mean,
that's
if I get
silly. I'm not
if I get a
doing
chance
that.
for a $90 ticket, I might do it. I mean, I would just
Yeah.
feel bad if it's like I would have a regret if if they got inducted and I'm so close to there that I didn't go. Like I don't know. Like like it's always gonna be in my mind. Like if I just don't go, even if it's only for 5 songs, I don't give a shit. Like
Yeah. If it's just so
Damn.
funny and
Yeah.
weird, I think too. And like, yeah, that's what sucks. I'd have to buy like a plane ticket and shit too. So it's like, but at the same time, my brother-in-law lives up in Brooklyn and he's like a huge like Radiohead fan. So it'd be fun to like take him and see his favorite band and mine, and stuff like that. It'd just be kind of worth the event. Yeah. Be like, whatever. I'm sure he feels the same way about it. But so if they did play 5 songs, do you have 5 songs you wish they would play if they did your dream 5-song set? What do you think?
So, well, I think that what I think you got to do a two-part here, like
Realistic and dream.
yes, realistic and dream, because realistic is going to be
Yeah.
Boys Don't Cry, Friday I'm in Love, Just Like Heaven. Probably say A Forest, just because that they've played that song every time they played live.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. What do you think the last song, Love Song, maybe?
I had my realistic one was I had my realistic was Friday I'm in Love, Love Song, Just Like Heaven, In Between Days,
Okay.
and Boys Don't Cry. But then off to the side I wrote, probably A Forest
Yeah.
too, swapping out one of those because that would represent the weird side or something. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like, even though it's not, but at the same time, yeah, it would probably just be those
Yeah.
heavy hitting, undeniable ones that got them in there in the first place. You know, so it's like, yeah, that's probably it.
What are your...
My dream one, I went solely for getting my $300 tickets value worth. I went with Pictures of You,
Okay.
Bear, Edge of the Deep Green Sea,
Jesus Christ.
Watching Me Fall, and Promise from the self-titled album. All the songs over 8 minutes long. So really, it's like a 2.5 hour
Bang
set.
for my buck. You're out of your mind, Jesus.
It's like, aha, I win.
Why don't you just pick like a extended mix of something? Like,
Yeah.
Carnage Visors Extendo Mix.
That would be great, though. They just play Promise.
yeah, they just play Carnage Visors. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Everyone's like, when are they going to wrap this up? Good God.
Oh my god.
We haven't even heard.
I like you guys thought of the what will actually happen mix, and then because I was thinking that when I was making my list, and like, because I started off with Boys Don't Cry, and I was like, well, they got to play that, like,
Yeah.
and then I put or Three Imaginary Boys, but then All Cats Are Gray,
Nice.
In Your House, Exploding Boy, One More Time, close it out with One More Time. Everyone's crying.
Damn. Yeah. Highly unlikely, but I would cream my jeans for sure.
That'd be dope.
I'd be like, this is the best night ever.
I mean, this is worth $3,000 and
Yeah, totally worth it. Then Janet Jackson comes out and plays Rhythm Nation and fucking brings the house down with a little pour some sugar on me. Be
I'd
awesome.
stay
I
for
could
Def
see them
Leppard.
realistically, like we said, with a forest, but even like Three Imaginary Boys or something, that would be considered weirding it up just for the, they are just,
a guitar solo in that, man.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's just
That'd be
so
badass
like he
on that
loves to,
stage
in
for all those legends.
of a little twist in it, and to be like, haha, we're playing something like 100 years or something would be kind of not
Yeah.
totally out of the question,
Yeah.
but at the same time probably a little too long.
Fuck that.
But yeah, they could probably do something weird. Probably Lullaby would be like the wacky choice or something.
Which is still, yeah.
That'd be so whack.
I mean, that'd still be pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
my 5, I have 100 days, or 100 years. I'm sorry. What am I saying? I was thinking In Between Days. Fascination Street. Yeah, dude, I fucking love that song, and it would give me an excuse to punch somebody. Disintegration, Letter Release, and probably A Forest.
Yeah.
So
I started to write out Letter to Elise, but Elise was hard to spell. but
Yeah, fuck it.
but I almost wrote it down, man.
I got to the
Elise.
third letter and I'm just like, I just gave up on it. I couldn't remember if it was two
That was
T's
on
or
my
not.
short list.
Doubt, whatever.
Oh, Letter Elise is good.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Weird list.
Yeah.
I just
would
like, I don't know. I wasn't on the Disintegration episode, so I didn't talk
Yeah.
about my love affair with Fascination Street, but yeah, I'd fucking
Yeah,
love to
well.
hear that song. Like that's the song that like gets me like jacked up, like in any situation.
Badass.
Like
It's one that, I always feel like I'm kind of sick of it, but then when you hear it live, I think like at that Charlotte show, that was definitely a highlight where I'm just like, I forget like how many times you hear the song, but it still, it just hits you, it's so good. It's like, Just love hearing that bass line live in particular.
I was driving to see my wife for lunch today, and I had my my phone on shuffle, and it came on, and I was just like, "Oh fuck yeah!" And I was,
Never gets
Driving
old.
over
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
on the sidewalk and shit.
Yeah.
it's just got that driving bass to it. That's just like I'm just like it just revs me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's another top 5 question for you guys. When they do get in and they go to that big museum months later and they put up their exhibit, what are some top 5 artifacts? So what do you think they should put in there? That would be if you could have your choice of any of the band's personal items.
I thought about this one, and like and it all goes back to like music gear, but I'm like, no, I still want them to use that. Like,
Yeah.
but I want to see like his like OG Jazz Master with like the doctored like third pickup,
Yeah.
and like his bass 6, and like
Yeah, I don't think he'd give
maybe
it
Lowell's rototoms.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
like this shit would be tight. I'd love to see that stuff. But I think like I don't know. I'd like to see shit from their videos because they were big on their videos.
Yeah.
Like the cat suit.
Mm-hmm.
They wore
The
Yeah.
the-
Lowell's
like some-
blackface.
Yeah. Like a print of it, maybe, or you could like roll it over his
The
face.
vagina lips he walked through in that one song.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, the
yeah,
big
the rock
cardboard
and roll
vagina
hall of
lips.
shame.
Sure.
But
Somebody
would it be
could-
like shit like that, like Robert Smith's big old
Yeah,
high tops?
Yeah,
it's
definitely
his high
like
tops,
his, like,
yeah.
the ones like Kiss Me era
Yeah.
high tops, I think would be great. So
Um,
definitely gotta have one high tops, I think.
Yeah, it'd just be like guitars and like
Yeah.
outfits and clothes and shit, like shit from their videos. I'd be like, yes.
Mm-hmm. Simon's like Little Bo Peep hat or something like that.
I think they would.
You know he's not wearing that fucking thing anymore.
I think they would take stuff that like the normal everyday person would kind of, sort of recognize
Yeah.
or associate with them. So the high top,
Like Robert Smith's caboodle.
so the high tops would definitely be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as dumb as it sounds, but like a "Boys Don't Cry" poster would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
Just sitting there, like somebody's fucking bedroom. Yeah, I just think of
Yeah.
that, and I think how many people had that fucking poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just like
Or even just like the actual photo,
Yeah,
you know,
something
like
like
the,
that,
something
yeah.
they could blow up, something cool. Like that's I always love in those museums if they do them right, or if they have like the lyric sheets where they scribble out, you
Yeah.
know, if like they're able to get any of that stuff, that's
Yeah.
great. When you see like what they were originally gonna write for the lyric, I'm sure he's pretty tight with that
Like,
stuff.
it's
where he wouldn't
different.
give it up, yeah. But at the same time, it's like that would be something like that because you wouldn't see that in like a fucking Hard Rock
Yeah.
cafe or something. You know what I mean? And it's like if it is a big deal, then hopefully he will give them something
Yeah.
cool like that.
well,
you know?
definitely a thing of handwritten lyrics would be pretty rad for just about
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
You know, what did they have in the Crawley Museum?
Yeah, I don't know.
Had, like,
That's why I love
they had
the-
like
I kinda-
buttons, and they had some records
Seemed a little
and stuff
thin,
like
but-
that.
Yeah.
I'd want them to put like a show flyer for like an early show. That would
Yeah.
be cool.
That'd be cool.
Even the one that they had with Joy Division would be pretty cool to be put up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean,
Yeah, that'd be smart. Just because there's so much crossover, you
can
know.
you think of anything else that you would like really like? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to see the wall of beer cans that apparently, like, I read about that they built when they recorded pornography, and they would like hide behind it when they wanted privacy.
I'm not sure they have.
I would want
somebody held on to
I would
all
want
those.
that beer
It's,
can
it's
wall.
all in Lowell's storage unit,
Yeah.
along with all the wine.
I kept all those
the
beer
wine
cans.
bottles they went through for what was the one album?
For
Kiss Me, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some fat dude in Las Vegas
Awesome.
just bidding $5 on it and just opening it up, and there's just wine bottles everywhere.
These are the wine bottles from Kiss Me. Like,
They come
there's no way
clanking
to
out.
prove that. There's no way to not prove it. It's like, ah.
But I don't know. I would want weird stuff like that. Like, I'd like to see like flyers.
I'd like to see some of the ruffly shirts, maybe some of those blouses or those big gray suits, maybe from Head on the Door era, the big puffy '80s suits.
I'd like to see
some of that wardrobe like that's always cool. Like even just with like movie stuff, when you see the actual like, you know, if he has like the red with the black polka dot shirt from Love Cat, still that would be kind of cool. Stuff like that. Yeah.
I'd like to see the horn section from the lullaby video when they're all in like cobwebs and everything.
Yeah,
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, all the.
You know, it's kind of funny just thinking about like the stuff that is in there. It's like probably like Stevie Ray Vaughan's like shredded up guitar with like some cigarette burns on it, and then it's like the spider.
Yeah, the big furry spider that he gets pulled into. Is like a
like all this silly shit, like
whoa,
all the props from Friday I'm in Love.
Yeah, like the big moon thing or whatever and shit from Friday.
Silly shit.
The drum set that says The Cure's on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Yeah,
there you go.
They need their whole museum. Fuck the one exhibit.
Who has all that shit?
Give 'em
That's
a
what I'm
whole
wondering.
wing.
Who has all that shit?
Yeah.
Tim Pope's just sitting on
it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's my retirement fund.
Man.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah, I guess from that, a more realistic one too is who would you prefer induct them? No, that have somebody present them. You know, like somebody says all the nice things and then they're officially in.
Yeah.
And I don't really know enough about the ceremonial stuff. Is it usually like a younger artist that's like saying what an inspiration they were, or do you get like a?
I mean, I've only
than
watched
the Cure
it like
artist?
once or twice, and I think it's just, if I remember right, it's just somebody that's like close to them or somebody that that has some kind of weight behind their name. So they're just not going to have.
It'll be Johnny Depp as Edward Scissorhands.
I mean, I guess like Tim Burton.
I could
or
see
something
Tim
could be a
Burton
more
doing it.
realistic one. But I don't know if it has to be another musician. Do they get like people? Like
I don't know. I was reading comments like after they got announced, and people were like, "I'd fucking love to see Marilyn Manson induct them," and like my eyes are rolling. I mean, most of like Trent Reznor.
The Cure is so weird. It kind of like alienating themselves. They don't really have too many other like band buddies, you know. It's like everybody that they do kind of connect with. I'm like, oh, the fucking dude from Korn's gonna come out. Hey, brothers. It's like no, but, Ross Robinson's gonna do it or something. But I don't know. I guess like realistic ones. People said Dave Gahan maybe. But I mean, even that's
Susie Sue.
Yeah, I think they're probably not so much on.
That'd be dope, but then
good
people would be
terms,
like,
but
"Who?"
yeah, maybe a good time to.
I'd like to see that
reunite each.
I mean, I
Trent Reznor seems like a realistic one.
Yeah,
maybe.
you can see the dude from the Killers do it.
Yeah,
you'd probably end up with something like that.
It'll be the Blink 182 guys.
Blink 182 guys.
Mark Hoppus come up there and just introduce him.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's enough time. Maybe they'll ask us to do it. Hey guys, and the dipshits from the Holy Hour. Hey,
yeah. Donald's just doing a bong hit in the background.
And then say, yeah.
This isn't weird. I mean,
a hologram of David Bowie.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, everybody that seems like it would be cool is dead. I think.
You know, it'd be cool if they got inducted and they did it like a Bowie cover in their 5 song set list. So like some kind of homage to him and everything. Yeah. So that's backtracking, but like,
damn, you made that shit wholesome.
Try to. Thanks.
Bring the fucking house down, like some tears. And shit.
But like, I don't know who I would want to see. Like, I don't want to see a dipshit induct them. You know? As much as it doesn't matter, like, I don't want to be associated with some asshat, you know?
Yeah, like, even just watching those, like, that MTV thing where they did the whatever rock icon and Marilyn Manson's all going up in his face. And it's like, dude, just fuck off. You know? It's like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't like Marilyn Manson's music enough to care. I mean, I think he's pretty funny as a person or whatever, but like, just something like that would just be goofy and like, ugh. I don't know.
But I
kind of predictable.
I think,
like,
I think with something,
but like,
I think something with the Cure is that like they've like gone out and been a part of so many different genres and like crossed over to so many different types of music that it's like even when you do your cover episodes, like it goes across so many different, you know, elements of music that like there's I don't want to see Trent Reznor. Well, I mean Trent Reznor wouldn't be that bad, but I mean I wouldn't want to see Marilyn Manson induct him, but I understand that they had some kind of influence in his music and his life. Yeah, and then you could just go on down the line to, you know, I'm sure like even fucking 311. Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh god. I just got sick to my stomach.
Yeah, like in an ideal world, it would be like somebody from New Order, but they all like hate each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's no way that's gonna happen, or Ian McCulloch or something. You know, but it's like nah, that's never gonna happen. So yeah, I don't know. So maybe that's a them problem. Not ours.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, maybe Morrissey will step it up. And I was like, "Whoa! Didn't see that coming."
Just a curveball.
Like,
that would be awesome.
yeah, just totally super humble Morrissey comes out.
He'd be like, I guess we finally figured out who's better.
Yeah, I bow to you. Like, whoa, what the? Like, wow, that was totally worth the ticket.
Robert would be like, I've been waiting for this my whole life, Morrissey.
Kiss my ring. It's like,
He'd call him Steven, too.
yes,
not
thank
even
you,
Morrissey.
Steve.
They ended up singing a song together.
Kiss my ring, Steven.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit, they were buddies all along.
They played us all for fools.
Yeah.
Love lift us up where we belong.
Ebony and Ivory.
Yeah.
Just sitting together at a piano.
Oh, shit.
It's like, I knew this show was a good idea.
Yeah.
Could make this so much better.
Yeah.
You gave me that question a couple days ago, and I still, I can't come up with a good answer that's actually gonna work. Like, and it's gonna be. And my biggest fear is it's just gonna be some asshat, and I'm just gonna.
Yeah, or just somebody. Yeah. My favorite would
thing's gonna
probably
be
just
dumb.
be the dude from like Twilight Sad. Would be really sweet and sincere.
But nobody knows who.
You know,
That's the
it's
only
like,
problem is like nobody knows who
yeah,
he is.
exactly. It would
Right.
never happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would be like, oh, that's nice. Those dudes have been just like everywhere with them lately. And,
Yeah.
you know, that would make sense. It's like somebody from, you know, an up and coming band. You know, It's
Totally Trent Reznor.
Yeah, probably.
yeah, it's got to be Trent
Yeah.
Reznor. He's like, people are always freaking out that they're not in the Hall of Fame yet anyway, too. So it's like, it makes sense. That would be the logical one.
Or Tim Burton. You could see. I mean, I
Right.
think we could all see Tim Burton induct him.
Dude's from South Park.
Yeah, maybe the South Park dudes.
Oh, there you
Cartman
go.
can do
You know
it.
what? I could see that. I could see it with Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Induct
Yeah,
them. I could see that.
it could be cool.
Totally.
All right, so there's
That would be good.
That's my
some
vote.
semi-decent choices out there.
Here's some fun trivia. Also on the bill of this All-Star Jam is Janet Jackson, who coincidentally kept the Cure out of the #1 slot back in 1989 with her hit single Miss You Much. So Love Song stalled out at 2 and didn't get in. So there's going to be some awkward backstage conversations there, I'm sure. They'll be like, so she kept them out of the #1 spot. And Def Leppard kept them out of #1 when Wish debuted as the #2 album, and then it dropped quickly on the Billboard chart. So Def Leppard and Janet Jackson cock-blocked them twice from being #1.
What Def Leppard album? Was it the Pour Some Sugar on Me one?
I think so. Maybe
Hysteria?
No,
maybe? I don't know. No,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
before that. Paranoia.
Hysteria was
maybe?
89.
Yeah,
So
that came out. Yeah, Disintegration.
Yeah.
This would be 92-ish. Was there one
Oh,
called
it's like,
Paranoia or
let me
Paranoia
see.
or something?
Pyromania.
Come on, you're the big
Oh.
Def Leppard fan,
Def
Donald.
Leppard.
Yeah, no, I think it was Pyromania. I think.
What year was it?
Where?
92.
92. Yeah.
Adrenalize. I don't know
Oh, yeah.
What fucking album is that?
I don't know that one.
See, this is when they like fucking 92. They shouldn't have mattered then anymore. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think
Nobody was
Yeah.
listening to Def Leppard then, were they?
nobody should have been listening.
Oh,
to them
well, yeah,
before.
you got me there. But I'm like, that's like you're talking like post Nevermind and everything.
Yeah, and even like Pour Some Sugar on Me, I feel like is that kind of cheesy era. I'm assuming people that really like Def Leppard consider some era before that like their real shit, you know, right? I don't know. They don't consider that like their best stuff, do they?
Well,
Like,
this
pour some shit.
No.
That was like
this album had.
There's some good songs. That record, like, they had a ton of fucking big singles on it. Like,
here comes Fanboy again.
This song, that album had 10 songs on it, and 7 of them were singles.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
That's fucking bullshit.
They're just trying any of them.
Yeah, they're just like, just throw that one out there.
Wow.
Let's see if people like that one.
Wow.
say they can write some hooks.
Yeah, Pour Some
Yeah.
Sugar on Me was 87. That was
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that makes
That
sense.
was a Hysteria album.
I have two traumatic events based off of Def Leppard. I guess we can start going into our analysis of these other bands on the bill.
You had traumatic events to Def Leppard?
Yeah, like numerous
Where-
ones. One was like when I was in sixth.
There's this
Where
one-armed
did the
guy.
clown touch you during the...
It was more socially. I was in like I lived on a very small street, and there were some older girls, and she had a party in her garage, and nobody else on the street.
Hell
of the
yeah.
dudes were invited, but she invited me. She was an 8th grade girl, and she invited the 6th grade, 5th grade boy, I think I was, and
Ooh.
and I was like, all right, and I went, and I didn't know all these older kids there. I didn't know what to do, so I was just hanging out, you know, like eating some chips and stuff, and then they pour some sugar on me and started dancing. And they're like, dance with us. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what to do. And I was like, nah, I don't dance. It's not my thing, you know, trying to be cool. And then they like, just pulled me in there, and I was like wiggling my arms around because, you know, by that point I only knew like Robert Smith dance, you know, which still never looks good for anybody but Robert Smith. And they were nice about it, but everyone just kind of looked at me like, ugh, and I was like, that didn't go well, did it? I was just like, and I just felt like Pour Some Sugar on Me was like a 15-minute long song, you know, and I don't think it is that long. I was like, this song's never going to end. I want this moment to go away. So that was horrible.
It sounds terrible.
And you never got laid again.
Never again. I don't even know how my child was born. But yeah, and then all the rednecks on the bus wanted to beat me up all the time. They're wearing Def Leppard t-shirts and like, you know, Iron Maiden and Metallica, all that. So like I never went through like a healthy heavy metal phase because of that.
But Def Leppard's
Like,
not fucking heavy metal. Like it just
I
doesn't.
know, yeah, and now it makes sense, but I just associated it with all that. And even when I met Donald in 6th grade, he was wearing Def Leppard t-shirts and shit. And I'm like, why are you wearing
irony.
the Enemy's t-shirt? Yeah, so the irony of it all comes full
Donald,
circle.
you piece of shit.
I know.
But
I didn't know any better, man.
Obviously.
Like,
he's like, I love this. I was like, you're a drummer, and he only has like one arm, right? Isn't that like their
I
whole
was
shtick?
really impressed. I was really impressed.
thought it was
with
like
the
a
guy's
trick they
footwork.
did or
Like,
See, the only connection I have to Def Leppard, and this is kind of embarrassing, but like,
dude, I just,
We're all
Well,
laying
I
it
just
out there. This is
unloaded
like
some
therapy.
really embarrassing shit.
so I grew up in
open
like
up.
a very religious family that was like very anti anything that had to do with anything like secular or worldly that they would call it. So this was like the Satanic Panic era, and of course Def Leppard was part of that just because they look like it, I guess. But somebody was like, you should listen to this band because they're the Christian version of Def Leppard. So it was this band called Petra, and
Ooh. I thought you were gonna go Striper,
well,
but-
no. See, Striper dressed like too much like women for me to listen to them.
You can
So,
see their
yeah,
dicks.
pretty much. Yeah, I'm not saying that as like I'm saying that was the excuse of me not being able to listen to them. Not as that I had that.
They're too sexy.
Yeah. They look like women. So yeah, so that was the reason I couldn't listen to them. But yeah, so this band Petra, and the lead singer kind of sounds like the lead singer of Def Leppard, but they were like more of a professional like Christian hard rock band that they could associate with like Def Leppard. Because that's what the Christian music industry did at the time, was like they would take
It's very purposeful.
they would take whatever was popular in the rock charts and then try to mimic it with something else that they could make. And you know, I don't even see that South Park episode where Cartman makes a Christian band.
Yeah.
And just
I remember that
and
now.
just changes all the like the boy girl stories to like about Jesus, and you know it sells.
Yeah.
It's like you're taking something cool,
Yeah.
just making it worse.
Yeah, that used to be our like a running joke as a band. It was like, well, at some point we just changed all our like love songs into like Jesus
Yeah.
sons, and we could just try again with like
Make
the
millions of
Christian
dollars.
crowd.
So, but yeah,
Hell yeah.
but looking back on it now that I'm older, like they actually did a decent job with what they did. So I give them. I think they deserve to be in there just because of the amount of
Yeah.
music and hits that they had in the early '80s. But come like '93, I don't know how they were still pumping out these fucking it debuted at #1 on the U.S. Billboard charts, and peaked at #1 in the UK album charts in '93.
Yeah.
They were milking
But
it.
like how? Like I don't
But I
understand.
mean, that could be said for pretty much every band. You know, they had their golden era, and then you know.
But like I just don't understand in the world of music that was going on at that time, like how like between like gangster rap and what was going on with grunge and alternative music. I don't understand how that band.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like same as Wish, it was April '92, and I think like Nirvana had already come out. Or I mean, Nevermind had already come out by that point.
It came out
right?
in '91.
And, yeah, so like, but I mean, I think there was just still so much success from their past records. That's why. I mean, that's all that Billboard shit is. It's like whatever hype you just left off at, your next album's gonna like bam. Even with The Cure, it was like Disintegration did so good. That's why Wish debuted so high, you know? It's like makes sense. Well, moving on to Donald's other favorite, Stevie Nicks. You're always if the people out there knew how many times I've edited out Donald's rambling on about fucking Fleetwood Mac at the end of every episode. I don't know if you had to partake in any of those, Chaz, but a lot of those early episodes, for whatever the hell reason, Donald would get on some fucking Fleetwood Mac rant and go on. So I think you've got a soft spot for Stevie, right?
I was gonna say
Just as a band, not her.
like maybe you're just catching me on like a big Fleetwood Mac wave, but it's been many years. And I don't think I'm getting off. Well, I am getting off.
Apparently. How do you feel as
fucking
her as
love
a
Fleetwood
solo
Mac
artist? I'm assuming Fleetwood
to
Mac
my
has been
fucking
in there
core.
for ages, but
Like Fleetwood Mac is one of the greatest bands. Like they're just such a fucking LA band. And their songs are great, and they calm me, they soothe me, they soothe me at my core for some reason. They have great harmonies, and the mixing is really great. Drums sound dope, nice and muted. Guitar playing's fantastic. That's Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks was in Fleetwood Mac.
Really?
yeah,
Stevie Nicks solo
yeah.
being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like,
What do you think?
is
Solo
a
artist?
complete different thing.
I
Like,
punched
'cause
in. I
that's
was like,
she's
well, what the
getting.
hell were her singles? It was like the Stand Back was the main one. Bam, bang, bam.
That song's dope.
That was alright, but then like from then on, I was kind of like, that duet with Tom Petty was like, oh yeah,
It's
that.
dope.
And then Edge of 17, I can't even think of it off the top of my head, but when I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, that song. That's
Fucking One Winged Dove. Like Stand Back, One Winged Dove, like her Tom Petty jams, like those are so good, but Rock and Roll Hall of
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of meant for people like her, you know, so why not?
get me all
Sure.
riled up.
Sorry, I don't get it. I don't get either Def Leppard
Like
or her. But
she
I
shouldn't be
understand
in on her solo stuff. Like she should be in for like Fleetwood Mac should absolutely.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure they've
one of
been in.
one
for
of the
years.
things they built the foundation of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like bands like Fleetwood Mac,
Yeah.
like where they're just like they just been around forever. Old people fucking love them.
Mm-hmm.
Dipshits like me love them. Like
Is it sentimental value? Is it something you bonded with your parents listening to those records or something?
yeah, no, like I grew up with that, like with just goofing, like being a little kid, like playing with toys on the floor, and my mom like cooking and like listening to records, and like Fleetwood Mac was on like heavy rotation, and it's like
Yeah.
it's always gonna be a thing.
Yeah, we all got those.
So yeah,
So you
like
got your vote.
Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks, no,
But why not?
is my vote.
All right.
As sentimental as it is.
What about
But
you,
Fleetwood
Chaz?
Mac,
Do you have any
yes.
sentimental attachment to Stevie Nicks?
Stevie Nicks, no.
Yeah, my wife is a big Fleetwood Mac fan.
Hell yeah.
She sings "Landslide" to my kids to help them go to sleep, or she used to when they were younger. So that was like
Nice.
her big song. So, but she associates that with her father, and you know, her growing up. But like I have no attachment other than what I hear on, you know, on the radio or at work. And I mean, I can't even, like, I can barely comment on anything that Fleetwood Mac did, or other than singles,
Yeah.
you know, or
Yeah,
Stevie
just
or
those
Stevie
big-
Nicks.
All right, so Roxy Music, that's a weird one for me. I'm only really familiar with Avalon, which turns out their last album. People are big on them, though, and Brian Ferry. Brian Eno, I guess, was in the first versions of them. I guess I always knew that, but I didn't really listen to much of those albums. I always put them on, and then I get kind of bored and distracted, which is not a very good music fan of me. But I don't know. What do you guys feel about those early ones with all those provocative covers and stuff?
I love Brian Eno.
Yeah, but I mean,
Brian
I
Eno's
love
the
Brian Eno
shit,
too, but
but,
I can't get into Roxy Music. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd rather, not that they
Me
sound
too.
the same, but I'd rather
And
listen
I've
to
had-
the Talking Heads. Like I just, like if you're going like that
Yeah.
era of like rock music, like I would
Yeah.
definitely go with Talking Heads more than Roxy Music. But they have that one
Yeah.
cover with the two like almost naked girls on it, right?
Yeah. That's a few of those early albums are very like, ooh, what? And then yeah, it seems like the band has nothing sound wise that would match that. I was always surprised that was them. I would always think that it was just some kind of like full on like classic rock guitar shit or something. You know, it was just like, no, it's not really. Even Avalon, like the one with like More Than This, is obviously a cool song, but you know, that's it. The rest of the album's pretty, I don't know, unmemorable for me really. But
Are you gonna go into like a Radiohead is just like a modern Roxy?
really,
I don't know.
Nah.
It's kind of a stretch, but
I wouldn't say that.
but I was just thinking, it's like, man, there's kind of some aspects of some Radiohead.
Yeah.
Not to jump ahead. And,
Okay,
like,
well,
bands.
why not? Radiohead, I don't think they sound anything similar, but Radiohead, we kind of talked about them before. I don't remember if it made it in or not. You guys, I know Chaz, not such a fan.
Worst band
maybe?
ever.
Like any of it, or
Worst band ever.
yeah, you're not
No.
big.
No.
Wow,
I-
man, all of it, even like
They are the-
first kind of rockin' phase.
I've listened to some bad music in my life, and they are the only band that has ever put me to sleep. Like, not on purpose. Like, I've listened, like, going back to Brian Eno, like, I used to listen to his ambient music to help me get to sleep. Excuse me. But,
All that.
yeah, so it's coming through my computer screen, man.
Yeah, you just can't.
Oh,
no.
I blow
Yeah.
it right into the mic.
Oh,
I put
man.
my mouth around the mic and go like, "Arr."
But yeah, I used to listen to his ambient music to help me go to sleep, and but like as far as Radiohead goes, I had friends that were really into them, and I just I don't know what it I don't know
What
what
about,
it
like
is.
the bands and shit, like when it was like poppier actual rock songs and stuff?
No,
Did you
like
hear much
yeah,
of that? or
I
was
don't
it
know what
totally-
it. I think it might have to do with his voice that
Yeah.
I just can't get into. But I mean, just I don't know. Like, I mean, I didn't listen to their like really earlier stuff, so I mean, I can't really judge them on that. I'm pretty
Yeah.
much judging on them when they got like were like really huge, like okay computer
Yeah.
Kid A kind of era. And
Yeah, that's where they lost me.
I just remember I was in Chicago in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, and I was in a record store downtown, or like a t-shirt store or something. They were playing it, and I was like getting drowsy just walking around, and I'm just like, this shit, oh my god, I gotta get out of here.
It's putting me to
No.
sleep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's like, and like so many friends of mine were into them, and I'm just like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I don't see it. I don't know what's going on. It's just not for me. So, but yeah.
And I've always had like friends that like as well that are just like super into them, and then people are just like fuck them, fuck everything about them. And I've always kind of been in the middle. Like they lost me because I listened to them like when they like saw them when they got big and stuff, and they were kind of like, whoa, what's this?
Yeah.
And it was like when like Nirvana was like big and like coming out, and like Creep is all dope.
They got so huge so fast too. I think that was like kind of the deal where I was like, I dug them. It's kind of same boat with you, I guess, where it's like, you know, the first album, then like the Bends is the main one, you know, that just because it was like cool guitar stuff and poppy songs, you know, and like
It's a pretty record.
yeah, there's like a lot of great ones on that. And then like even OK Computer I like, but not as much. Like you know, No Surprises I think is just an amazing song, but like, you know, a lot of them I'm not that crazy about. And then like by Kid A I was like, all right, they're getting experimental and it's cool, and people like have blown this band up so much that I'm glad that people are fanatical about them the way that I am about The Cure or whatever, but I'm not, you know. And then it just kept branching out into like I don't understand or get or care what they're trying to do with this, but I'm glad somebody's doing it, so why not it be them? But good luck with that, boys. You know, and then like I just felt like it just went out the window for me, and I'm glad that they're doing it, and I never like
fuck yeah.
in any
and if you look at the rock and roll like entry obstacles or hurdles or whatever, like all the rules, like all the bands that fucking Radiohead, all the people that Radiohead has inspired, I think is the best thing about that band, because they did get weird with sounds, and they did it legit. Like they're making their own weird shit, and like their guitar player's fucking wild.
They're all really.
And the guy really experiments with his voice and does some weird stuff with it, like, and I think that like has influenced like a lot of shit we hear like nowadays. It's just like people like goofing in the studio and experimenting and getting weird with sounds. Like that's Radiohead is a lot to like a generation.
So do you guys, like, as not really a fan, do you guys think that they, as stupid as it is, but do you guys think that they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I'd say definitely.
Absolutely. Like, the rules are silly anyways.
I'd say based on the pacing of, like, you know, The Cure, Def Leppard, Stevie Nicks, it's like maybe it's a little early for them, but at the same time, they definitely need to be in there.
They've been around for a long time.
Well, why not? You know? And it's like, and there's younger bands probably already.
25 years, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's been longer than I think it is. Like, what? Radiohead just came
Their first album was what,
5?
92?
Oh,
it was like early 90s.
Was it?
Yeah. I just think as somebody like you have Radiohead, and do you think, like, I think of somebody like the Pixies that aren't in there, but do you think they're in there just because they had like the exposure that a band like the Pixies didn't have? Not that they sound the same, but like just like I'm talking about like influence wise and just like I don't know, they just seem like I don't know, they just don't seem like it fits.
And the Pixies should be in there too. It's too long now. They definitely should be in there.
But they didn't have the exposure that
broad net. Exactly. They didn't have that giant fucking exposure.
I think if they would have come a couple years later, they would have. But
and I think as far as like inspiration too, like Radiohead's still going definitely way more than like Def Leppard's not even inspiring new bands probably at this or at least a smaller scope, you know. And like Radiohead is definitely still, there's like young bands right now that are like, I'm gonna make this Radiohead sounding song, you know. And I mean,
I think that's my
even probably more so than The Cure, even at this point.
I think that was part of my questions. Like, do you think that their influence is still stretching out compared to other bands? Like,
I think it's widening for sure.
Okay.
Because even like the early Britpop stuff that we were into by the end of the 90s and early 2000s were like totally inspired by like early Radiohead, which then Turn kind of like really shifted gears again, and then they got more,
Right.
almost on par with like a Wilco or something, where they started out with something that almost sounds completely different than what they're doing now. Like those early albums were just such like a rock song, and like that got like Travis and all those kind of bands even kind of going, and stuff. And it's like, I mean, it is really weird, but yeah, I'm totally with you though. Where I'm like not being like a huge diehard fan, I'm going, I don't know, but it's cool. But I don't really want to listen to it. Well, a little less experimental. How do you guys feel about Janet Jackson? You ever heard of her?
Yes.
She's a force to be reckoned
I had
with.
the biggest fucking crush on her when I was when I was younger.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
From Rhythm Nation era?
That and then put in
She's too hardcore Rhythm Nation. Gotta go back a bit.
Or like when she's having her halftime show.
No, it was past that was past my love affair with her. It was definitely like Rhythm Nation and was it a self-titled album that she had? Like it was just called Janet.
I guess, yeah, they all kind of blend together.
Yeah, it was just called Janet. It was 93. So
Okay.
those two albums, like I was definitely in love with her.
She had some jams.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you put all those songs on for like a good at least 10-year block, it's like you would know every single just because they're around and constantly playing, It's like...
Fucking Miss You Much?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That was the one that kept Love Song out of
Still a good song, though.
Man.
I know.
Fucking miss
I saw that, but that's a good song. Like
yeah.
I work at an antique mall, and like top 40 radio is like always on. It goes through the eras, thankfully, where I hear like a bunch of jams, like when it's not Imagine Dragons, I'm like, like fuck, and like some Janet comes on, like some Miss You Much, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like
Finally,
shit
a
makes
song
my
for
day.
me.
Like, I'm with you, Chaz, man. Like I thought it was gonna be the solo like Janet. Like no, Janet's kind of tight. Like
Yeah. I always hated her in the sense that Friday Night Videos and Music Video Connection were the only two video channels I had growing up, and anytime there'd be like a new Janet Jackson, she'd follow kind of like in the Michael steps of each video would have like this intro, and they're all just hanging out, and they'd do this big theatrical thing, and they'd talk for like, so like they'd only show like 6 videos the whole show each week, and like if she had a new one, like half the fucking show would be taken up by her new video.
Like,
and I'm just like, oh no, I'm Janet Jackson. So I'm gonna stomp around and kick some chairs around for like 15 minutes, and so that got frustrating.
You got to think of
you
the
poor thing.
You got to think of the shadow she was in, like of her brother, and like just her family in general. And she was the most, well, not just normal. She was the most successful one besides Michael, and you know, just think of the song "Nasty," and she fucking killed that. That song's so good.
I had a little footnote of like one that I do, like when Nasty Boys.
Song is kind of tight.
Just when she goes, "Who's that eating that nasty fruit?" I don't think that's what she's really saying.
Oh yeah,
I love that part.
What's
Nasty
she
Boys. Who's that eating that nasty egg? Nasty Boys.
So yeah, I definitely have a thumbs up for Janet Jackson.
That's gonna be the soundtrack to Chaz drinking his inedible arrangement. I'm gonna send him. Like who's that boy eating that nasty fruit, Chaz?
Yeah, I was always more of a Paul Abdul fan, but that one comes close to being very Paul Abdul. I think she's even in the video.
Did you like that?
Is she in the?
She's got it.
Paul Abdul?
You think she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
MC Scat
I
Cat.
I hope so. Yeah, we gotta look her up. I hope
that was Gavin's favorite rapper growing up was MC Scat Cat.
Yeah, definitely. Second to Cool Mo D, but yeah, MC Scat Cat was the shit, man. He had those crazy sneakers, and like he did everything opposite that she did. It's fucked up. He didn't care about nothing. He's a bad. He was the original bad boy. Bad boy
hanging out in alleys.
And the last band, the Zombies. I guess you can make the obvious joke that those guys are basically zombies
Bring
at
them
this
back
point.
from the dead.
Yeah. They gotta be like fucking 90 years old, but you can't deny those zombies hits. She's not there. Time of the season. That real soft one, Tell Her No. Or no, wait, that's the Way I Feel that was in like the Wes Anderson movies and shit. They're all like those ones, if you play them, you're like, oh yeah, that song. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We listened to them at the bookstore a lot. I like them. But
Yeah, zombies are
Yeah,
dope.
that's a lot of for me with the zombies is like, that's the zombies. Oh yeah, I know that song.
yeah, totally.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, which kind of I guess speaks to their what they've done in their career. It just makes you wonder why aren't they in there? Like why?
Yeah, they had to have been already. What the fuck? And they're still active somehow. I don't know how frequently
That's
or
the
what. I was
beauty
looking them up and I was
of
like,
modern
Jesus.
medicine and I guess drugs.
Recasting. Yeah, I think there's only like one dude. It's probably like all these like
We're
teen
talking about
dudes or
'em.
something. But who knows?
You got to give them that. Like,
Long
we're
Jim?
talking about
Yeah.
them in the Holy Hour.
There you
That's
go.
all.
We're gonna pull in some zombies
Hell
fans
yeah.
that have made it all the way through this podcast just to hear the one segment on the zombies.
Finally. And I hope we inspire
Yeah.
someone that goes on to make a zombies podcast. And then we'll be inducted into the Podcast Hall of Fame 25 years later.
Yeah. Well deserved.
Yeah, just
I
yeah.
hope they rock the fucking house.
Th-
I'm gonna be there.
hopefully that.
They're going on
Yeah.
first,
Oh,
I bet.
They got to get to bed. That's why.
Yeah, they're like, where's it start?
I got to eat dinner. 4:00 in the afternoon.
I thought we already won. No, you gotta play. Did we win? Yeah, you won.
Fucking rock and roll!
All right, let's wrap this thing up. I did have one sneaky conspiracy theory. Why now with The Cure? Do you think it might have something to do with the new album coming out and their 40th anniversary? I didn't really look into everybody else on the list to see if they had other shit they were promoting, but just like my weariness of anything big corporate and industry-wise, I'm like, why are they trying to just pay attention to The Cure now? Is there like another reason? Do you think that's too... Am I being paranoid?
No, I think I don't. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think not so much the new album, just like the 40th anniversary, especially for a band that's still active. I think this is because I don't think. I mean, this says I might say I don't think they're going to get to the 50th.
Yeah.
So I just think now it's kind of at the point where it's like now where you're not going to do it at all. So
Yeah, it seems a little convenient, but I mean, I'm fine with that and well deserved. But it just seems a little like wait a minute,
I honestly think that if they would have stopped putting music out in like 2004 and just stopped touring and just basically called it a day, I don't even think they would even be in at all. Like I mean, as bad as the self-titled was. I'm not putting much weight into that. I'm just putting weight into the fact that they're still active and they're still, and they're still selling out arenas, and they can.
It's like how you see your grandparents, where you're like, I'm glad they're still about.
All my grandparents are dead, so I don't really know what that's talking about.
Ooh.
yeah, Donna.
Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
I told you that before we started. I said, whatever you do, don't bring up Chaz's grandparents, man. What the fuck?
You want to talk about my dead dog too while we're at it?
Yeah, good.
It's some nostalgia shit. Like, you're just happy to see him still about. Like,
they're still active. They're not just sitting around watching Law and Order reruns all day. They're out there doing shit.
they're in the Rock and
They're
Roll
in the
fucking
Rock and
Hall
Roll
of
Hall
Fame.
of Fame. Tickets go on sale very soon. I saw today on Instagram somebody said, keep your eyes peeled. So all you people out there, don't buy them just to give us a fighting chance. And we'll let you know how it is.
By the time
Don't
this
worry,
comes
we'll
out, those
report
tickets
live.
already be out and gone already.
Yeah. We will report live from the depths of the Barclays Arena, telling you which
I'm not
5
going.
songs that they did play and who presented The Cure and which members were
If they even
there.
get 5 songs
It's
in.
gonna be historic.
And who gave a fuck?
Yeah, maybe they'll be there via satellite. Hello, this is Robert. Thank you for this award.
I'm gonna listen back to all their records after this and just be like, man, they did it.
They did it.
They really fucking did it.
It's dreams come true, Donald. Dreams come true.
Do they?
Let me ask one more question before we head out.
All right, yeah.
Can you guys?
What you got?
This is just off the cuff. 3 bands that you think should be in the Hall of Fame that aren't.
Well, it's hard to tell because they might be in the Hall of Fame. I haven't really looked at the master list, but I don't know. I'm assuming Velvet Underground's in there, right?
I would
They gotta
assume
be.
so.
I think the Smiths should be in here, but I'm glad that the Cure made it in before the Smiths. I'm glad, but they should be in there too.
The Smiths.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I just threw that in for Chaz, but on top of that, I don't know. Is New Order in there? I'm sure
No.
Joy Division probably is,
I
right?
don't think so.
Neither of them? All right. Yeah, let's go that route. I'll go Joy Division first, probably. And then, so Joy Division, Wilco, and Smiths. Yeah.
Let's see. If,
Yeah, they got
Joy
me.
Division. I don't think they are. No, I don't. No. Nope. No.
Really? That's weird.
What about you?
Lame.
No Chaz, no jazz. I like definitely New Order. Probably like New Order. Susie, I think.
Yeah.
And if we're throwing in Radiohead kind of things,
Okay.
Aphex Twin.
All right. Yeah, I
Okay.
get that. I'd probably go Pixies.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
Um,
We just talked about that. Poor Pixies always getting
and then I'm gonna go. I'll go New Order too. New Order / Joy Division,
Yeah.
which I don't. They hit so many fucking hits, like especially in the UK.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Pixies.
When you say New Order, do you mean like later New Order or like
No, like
can't pick.
well, you can't really pick.
Hard.
But
I know this.
I'm
is
talking.
picking.
I'm talking
you're-
like when I see that's the thing. Like I don't think you can
Just their whole
separate the
jams.
two from Joy Division and New Order.
Yeah.
Like it'd be hard to be able to put one in and not the other. Like I don't think you could do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's probably been the hang up of
Yeah.
why they aren't in there, because everyone kind of wants it to mean New Order, but you're not,
Yeah.
you know. So
So-
it's like, yeah.
and I would want Fugazi to get in there, but that's never gonna fucking happen. Like
Yeah. That should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see why not eventually, but yeah.
so
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, fucking Fugazi. I'm swapping out my Bare Naked Ladies. I'm swapping out my Bare Naked Ladies entry for Fugazi because, like,
I'm
absolutely,
throwing out
I didn't even think of
Dishwalla
them.
and putting Black Flag in there. So
Yeah,
suck on that one.
Midnight Oil. And Soul Asylum.
And I still fucking love
All right,
the Goo Goo
and that's
Dolls.
been,
Absolutely, man.
That's been the Runaway Podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Good question, Chaz. That's a fucker, man. That's good.
Yeah, I like your list better
Oh,
than
thank
mine,
you.
bro. So there you go.
Well, I asked the question,
So,
so,
who
I already had
knows?
the answer.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Well, we better wrap up this ceremony. There's an after party we gotta get to. I gotta get this tux back to the rental place by
Don's
8
got to take off
o'clock.
his cummerbund.
And
I gotta take
yeah,
I gotta take off my cummerbund and actually put on clothes. I'm freezing.
yeah.
Like, I actually might put the cummerbund back on after I put on some.
I noticed a shiver in your voice. Well,
But cheers, man! Happy New Year's
Yeah.
to anyone that listens, and I wish you all the best and thank you.
yep. And happy Hall of Fame Day. And maybe
happy
we'll
Hall
all
of
see you
Fame.
there. We'll keep you posted. And yeah,
25 years later, we might
Yeah.
all make it.
we all
I have-
might. make it
I have a feeling that
somewhere.
a bunch of big news is going to be coming down the pike relatively soon. So,
Yeah, none of this will matter. Bigger news is around the corner.
absolutely.
So let's hope. So, All right, guys. Thanks, Donald. Thanks, Chaz. Thanks for listening out there. We'll catch you soon. Talk hard.
Talk hard if you're comfortable with it.
Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. Be patient. They say that those old episodes are coming up any day now, so you'll get the full load again. Hopefully, I'll believe it when I see it. But hopefully they'll be up, and so keep an eye out for all the old episodes. Follow us on Instagram at The Holy Hour Podcast. Find the Facebook page where you can get all kinds of extra tidbits, or drop me a message there, or directly at gavinconner@gmail.com. Looking for contributions for your most cherished cure artifact. Getting some good stuff so far, so it's not too late. Send it in. We'll put it into the upcoming episode of Cherished Cure Artifacts. And it could be a voice memo or just an email, however you want to describe it, or send some pictures. And on top of that, be sure to go to 17secondsshirts.bigcartel.com to find all of Chaz's latest cool cure shirts. A whole bunch of 30th anniversary disintegration stuff is on the horizon, so keep your eyes peeled. And go to remixgifts.com where you can find all kinds of Cure and other related merch, as well as Arusha's fanzines and Push Cure fan documentary information and merch. So until next time, we'll see you around.